People say heartbreak comes like a slap. Mine came like a whisper. It wasn't during a fight. There was no screaming, no plates thrown. Just a quiet voice from the hallway, and a sentence that split my soul. But let me start at the beginning. My name's Dylan. I'm 29. A builder by nature. Not with bricks, with code. I was 2 years deep into developing a startup I believed in with everything I had. I had no investors, no salary, just a vision, a laptop, and enough grit to swallow the doubt. Melissa didn't sign up for all that. When we met, I had a job at a software firm. Predictable income, decent apartment, health insurance. By our second year together, I quit to chase this dream full time. She called it brave then, said I inspired her. So while I was bootstrapping my startup, she was in nursing school. I picked up freelance gigs just to keep us afloat. I'd cook, grocery shop, pay what rent I could. And when she came home exhausted from clinicals, I was the one rubbing her feet. She said I made her feel safe. But safety's not sexy for long. By year 3, something in her eyes had changed. She used to ask about my ideas. Now she scrolled through Instagram while I talked. She used to fall asleep beside me. Now she stayed out longer with her friends. And when she was home, she was cold, polite, distant. At first, I blamed myself. Maybe I was too obsessed with the company. Maybe I wasn't present enough. But the truth was simpler than that. She didn't believe in me anymore. And worse, she was embarrassed to be seen with me. It started with small jabs. You know, Kayla's boyfriend just got promoted to VP at Morgan Stanley? Tyler just surprised Jenna with a trip to Turks and Caicos. No pressure. My friends think it's so noble how you're still trying with your little project. Little project. Each word like a pebble in my shoe. Annoying at first, then unbearable. Still, I stayed. Because I loved her. Because I thought loyalty meant wading through the storm. Because I thought people don't just throw others away when things get hard. I was wrong. The night it all broke, she thought I wasn't home. I'd come in quietly. She was in the hallway, pacing, phone pressed to her ear. I should have announced myself. But something told me not to. And then I heard it. He's dead weight, Jess. Like, I love him, but I can't do this anymore. I've wasted my best years on a man who's going nowhere. I didn't breathe. Didn't blink. Didn't even know how to move. Wasted. Dead weight. A man going nowhere. She laughed a little after she said it. Not cruelly. Just casually. Like she'd finally admitted something she'd been holding in for too long. I walked back to the bedroom without her noticing. Sat on the edge of the bed for a full hour. Let the silence swallow me. Let the pain write its name behind my ribs. And then I made a decision. No confrontation. No begging. No dramatic scene. She wanted weight lifted? Fine. I packed a duffel bag. Just enough clothes for a few weeks. Grabbed my laptop. My notebook. My backup drive. Left my apartment key on the counter, next to a post-it note with no words on it. Just a period. That felt right. Final. Finished. I looked around once before I left. For years. A life built with someone I thought would be my wife. Gone in a whisper. She didn't know it yet. But that was the last time she'd ever see the version of me she called dead weight. Because what she let go of that night was the very man who would come back stronger, quieter, and more powerful than she ever imagined. And by the time she realized what she'd thrown away, it would be far too late. No goodbye. No argument. Just silence. I figured if I was dead weight, it was time to vanish. That night, I didn't just leave her. I erased myself. First to go? Social media. Facebook. Instagram. Twitter. All gone. Deleted. Not deactivated. Wiped clean like I'd never existed. I ignored the calls from our mutual friends. Blocked a few. Ghosted the rest. There was no explanation. No closure. Because I didn't know one. She made it clear what I was worth. So I cashed myself out of her life. Then I changed my number, burned the SIM card, got a new one with an out-of-state area code. I took a one-way bus to North Carolina. Cheapest ticket I could find. Slept half the way. Thought the other half. I had one friend there, Pierre. We hadn't talked in over a year. But when I called, told him I needed a place to crash, he didn't even hesitate. He had a spare couch in his one-bedroom apartment. No questions. No judgments. Just tossed me a blanket and said, "You get 1 week. Maybe 2. Then you grind or you're gone." Fair enough. So I did. I worked like a man possessed. Coded by day. Delivered food by night. I barely slept. Microwaved ramen. Showered every other day. Lived off caffeine and spite. But the heartbreak haunted me. Every silent night was loud with flashbacks. Her voice in my head. "You're holding me back." Her laugh at dinner with friends while I sat quiet, the outsider at my own table. The way she stopped touching me. Stopped asking about my day. Started treating me like a roommate instead of a partner. And the worst part, I stayed through all of it. Begged for crumbs. Thought love meant endurance. Turns out, it means nothing without respect. My first launch failed. Brutally. The site crashed. A bug I missed tanked user data. The few early adopters bailed within a week. I watched it burn on a cracked laptop screen while eating leftover pad thai on Pierre's floor. Pierre walked in, saw me staring at the screen. "Shut it down," he said. "Or fix it. But quit crying about it." I nodded. Didn't say a word. Because yes, I was crying. But I was also planning. Rock bottom wasn't new territory. It was home. But something shifted the next week. I met him. Malcolm Ward. Mid-50s. Wore jeans to investor meetings and didn't own a LinkedIn profile. No press. No noise. But the man had built and sold 3 SaaS companies no one had ever heard of until they got acquired for millions. Pierre knew a guy who knew a guy. Said Malcolm sometimes mentored young founders, but only the ones who didn't beg. I showed up to his workshop uninvited. Sat in the back. Took notes like my life depended on it. Afterward, I waited outside and pitched him my startup in 90 seconds. No slides. No app demo. Just vision and desperation. He listened. Then said, "That's cute. But what's your moat?" I didn't know what the hell a moat was in startup terms. I admitted it. He smirked. "Come by tomorrow. 5 a.m. bring coffee." Black. That was it. That's how it started. He didn't invest in me. Not yet. He did something worse. He broke me. Tore apart my codebase. Mocked my UI design. Made me read books I couldn't pronounce. Told me my business model was soft. My thinking was weaker. But every criticism came with correction. Direction. Precision. I started learning. Really learning. And with each fix, with each long morning on his porch whiteboarding revenue streams and user retention strategies, I began to feel it again. Power. Not ego. Not revenge. Control. I was still broke. Still crashing on Pierre's couch. But I was no longer lost. I was building again. Only this time, it was different. I wasn't doing it to prove Melissa wrong. I was doing it to prove me right. And I swore. When I came back, I wouldn't come back with noise. I'd come back with proof. Success so loud, she'd hear it from across state lines. But first, I had to finish becoming the man she gave up on too soon. Sometimes you have to vanish to be reborn. And what I became in the dark, even I didn't see coming. 2 years. 730 days of silence. And every one of them counted. I built like my life depended on it. Because it did. The startup, Luma AI Consulting, went from a half-broken codebase to one of the fastest-growing AI firms in the region. No flashy launches. No startup parties. Just relentless service. Word of mouth. Execution. We didn't promise disruption. We promised results. And Fortune 500 companies listened. By year 1, we were breaking even. By year 2, I had contracts with 2 major financial firms, a defense tech subcontract, and a data analysis tool in beta used by 3 universities. Forbes called. 30 under 30. Page 36. I didn't even know I was nominated. Malcolm did it behind my back. When the issue dropped, he handed me a copy and said, "Frame it, then forget it." I bought a small house outside Raleigh. 3 bedrooms. Clean lines. Nothing showy. Still drove my '09 Civic. Still made my own coffee. Still answered every email myself. We were valued at $12.4 million. And I didn't celebrate, because something inside me stayed cold. Not bitter, just focused. I never dated seriously. I tried once, maybe twice, but there was always this weight. Not dead weight, just a memory. Of someone who looked me in the eye and said I wasn't enough. Of someone who only loved me when I looked like a success story in the making. I could still hear her voice. "You're holding me back." So I stayed married to the work. Until the day I got that notification. LinkedIn. Melissa Parker viewed your profile. My heart stopped for half a second. I hadn't seen her name in 2 years. Didn't even know she still existed online. And yet there it was. She viewed my profile. Scrolled, probably. Saw my face. Saw the company. The title. The awards. Curiosity won. I clicked hers. She was back in our hometown. Working at a local hospital as an RN. Last name changed. Married. No big company. No power couple. Just a standard profile with a filtered headshot and a bio that read, "Passionate about patient care. Loving wife. Nurse. Dog mom." No trace of the girl who once wore stilettos to brunch and treated ambition like a competition. But here's the kicker. Her job title? Float nurse night shift. It hit me sideways. Not in a gloating way. Not in a cruel way. Just shock. I used to dream of building a life with her. Now she was living a version of it, with someone else, in the exact place I left behind. And I was on the other side of the screen, a silent ghost with 7 figures in the bank and no one to share it with. Funny, isn't it? She called me dead weight. And still somehow, I carried us both farther than she ever imagined. But I didn't message her. Didn't like anything. Didn't make a move. Because ghosts don't knock. They haunt. She married a man she thought was her upgrade. I wasn't supposed to know. But karma has a loud mouth. I didn't go looking for her life. It found me. A guy I used to do contract work with, Todd, called me out of the blue. He was venting about some sleazy broker who bailed on a commercial lease deal. "He's all style, no substance," Todd said. "Drives a leased Range Rover, owes everyone money, cheats on his wife like it's a sport." I wasn't paying attention until he said the name, Cameron Blake. Married to Melissa. I didn't even flinch. Didn't smirk. Didn't say a word. Just listened. Turns out Cameron had a reputation. Flashy suits. Fake smile. Champagne in the VIP booth. Mortgage on his Rolex. Everyone thought he was killing it in real estate. But behind the scenes, he was bleeding. He'd racked up debt across 3 counties. Borrowed against his mother's house. Missed property tax deadlines. And was juggling 2 lawsuits from angry tenants. Melissa? She was pulling double shifts at the hospital. Night after night. Bags under her eyes. Smile photoshopped on Instagram. She'd married the upgrade. The man with the car, the connections, the crisp credit cards. But it turns out, she was footing the bill. The universe has a twisted sense of humor. It wasn't long before the gossip reached mutual friends. Apparently, Cameron wasn't even discreet about the cheating. Nurses whispered about it. He'd show up to bar events with clients that looked more like models than buyers. Melissa showed up to brunch one weekend with her wedding ring off. Our mutual friends that I had started communicating with again were there, and they noticed. One called and mentioned it to me. But I felt nothing. No satisfaction. Nothing. Just silence. The kind that comes when the storm has passed. When the house is gone, and all that's left is the foundation you poured with your bare hands. That was the moment I realized. I didn't miss her. I missed the man I was when I believed in us. So I went back to work and made a move. A quiet one. I started investing in real estate. Discreetly. Through a holding company Malcolm helped me set up. Triax Equity. Simple. Clean. Invisible. And one of the first assets we acquired? A 6-unit apartment building in our city where Melissa lived with her husband. It was managed by Cameron Blake Real Estate. 2 weeks later, another property. 12 units. Same manager. The contracts were standard. Cameron never looked twice. Probably thought he was landing a whale. He had no idea the man behind the paperwork was me. No idea the tenant complaints and contractor invoices were passing through hands that once held his wife's heart. And I had no plans to expose myself. This wasn't revenge. It was reclamation. Control taken back. Dignity restored. Power quiet and untraceable. Let them spiral. I'd already escaped the orbit. And this time, I wasn't coming back to burn it all down. I was just going to buy the ashes. They say revenge is best served cold. I wasn't looking for revenge. I just wanted her to see the weight she threw away. I hadn't been back in nearly 3 years. The skyline felt smaller. The streets felt tighter. But I didn't. I'd been invited to speak at a regional tech summit, keynote slot, hosted at one of the nicest hotels in the city. Coincidentally, the same hotel Melissa's hospital partnered with for their annual fundraiser. I didn't expect her to be there. I didn't expect anything. But one of the event organizers posted a photo of me on LinkedIn. Me, standing in front of the backdrop with the words, "Redefining Innovation with Dylan Ward." It didn't take long. That night, I got the message. "Melissa, is this really you? I just saw a photo. Wow, you look different. Congratulations." I stared at the message for a full minute, then locked my phone, went back to my suite, didn't respond. The next morning, she sent another. "Melissa, I know it's been a long time. I don't want to be weird, but if you're still in town, maybe we could get coffee." I showed it to Malcolm. He raised an eyebrow. "You gonna meet her?" I nodded. "I'm not angry," I said. "I just want her to see." We met at a quiet cafe on River Street. Neutral ground. Public. No history. She looked tired. Still beautiful, in that curated Instagram way. But the sparkle was dimmer. The edge softened. She stood when she saw me. "Dylan," she breathed. I just smiled. We sat. She kept staring, like she couldn't figure out who I'd become. "You look incredible," she finally said. "I mean, you always looked good. But now you just seem different." I offered. She nodded. There was a pause. Then she started. "I just want to say I'm sorry. For how things ended. You didn't deserve that. I was overwhelmed and I didn't see what we had." I stirred my coffee. She kept going. "I never forgot you. You were kind. You believed in me when no one else did. I guess I thought you'd never grow. But you did. And I see that now." I nodded slow. Let her talk. "I always knew you were destined for more," she said. "I was just impatient." I smiled. Not with malice. Just grace. No fire. No fury. Just the clarity of someone who'd climbed out of the grave they were buried in. We sat in silence for a moment. Then I stood. "Thank you for the coffee," I said as I paid for both of us. She reached out, lightly touched my wrist. "You really became someone, Dylan." I looked her in the eye. Calm. Controlled. And I said, "Your husband's landlord? That's me now." She blinked. Once. Twice. Her hand dropped from my wrist. I turned. Walked out. Not because I was finished, but because I'd already won. She called me dead weight. Now I signed the checks that keep her roof from collapsing. I didn't even know the building was on the list. My legal team handled it. I'd authorized everything weeks ago. But when the notice hit his office door, I recognized the address. Melissa's husband, the one she traded up for, was 3 months behind on lease payments. He'd ignored 2 notices, refused to negotiate, so my team filed for possession. No yelling, no threats, just paper, just process. By the end of the month, he was out, his desk on the sidewalk, his reputation crumbling. And me? I never lifted a finger. A week later, my phone buzzed. I knew the number. "Melissa." I let it ring. Then it buzzed again. A message this time. "Melissa, I just found out. I'm sorry. I don't know what to say. I didn't know you owned that building also. This is all so crazy." I ignored it. 2 days later, another. "Melissa, maybe we were meant to find each other again. Maybe we just needed time apart to grow." I read it twice. Not because I was tempted, but because I couldn't believe how predictable people can be. She didn't want me. She wanted the man I'd become. The man she never saw coming. I replied with one sentence. "I'm not who I was, and you only want what I became. Then I blocked the number. Not out of anger, but because the story was over. That Friday, I walked into my company's new HQ. All glass walls and clean white lines. The kind of place I used to dream about when I was eating instant noodles on someone's couch. My assistant looked up and smiled. "Hey boss, card came for you. Another VC wants to talk partnerships." I took the card. Didn't even read the name. Just nodded and slipped it into my pocket. Outside my window, the city buzzed. People hurrying, struggling, climbing the same ladder I used to bleed on. I sipped my espresso, opened my laptop, kept moving forward. Some people only love you when you're no longer dead weight. So I let her go, and I never looked back. Here are some questions for you, our viewers. Have you ever had someone underestimate you, only for you to prove them wrong? Share your story. Do you think it's possible to forgive someone who hurt you, but not want them back? Let us know your thoughts. If you were Dylan, would you have responded to Melissa's messages? Why or why not? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on the notification bell because we have more stories coming up just for you.